Hello everyone, you are welcome to the Analytics Bootcamp. My name is Oladio Gunero. Today, I'm going to be taking us on Excel. Firstly, what is Excel? Excel is a naturally powerful tool for data analysis that enables users to carry out analytical process such as manipulation of data, analysis of data, and visualizing of large amounts of data quickly and easily. But before Excel can be used for this analytical process, we need to understand some of the basic functionalities of Excel and how it can be applied before this can be done. So that will take us to our next slide, exploring Excel interface and functionalities. We are going to be looking at some of the Excel functionalities, such as creating a formula, cell referencing, and basic Excel functions such as sort, filter, conditional formatting, data validations, and many more. Let's go out to Excel to explore some of these functions. First of all, I would like to give us a tour of Excel for those that are new to Excel. This is our Excel spreadsheet, and first at the top here we have different tabs: the home tabs, insert tabs, draw tabs, and every other tabs up here. These tabs contains so many functions that can be used for this analytical process. Now to the left hand side we have the file tab. File tab has to do with anything that has to do with when we want to carry out any process that has to do with the file, like creating a new file, deleting of an existing file, opening a new file, and many more. Also, an Excel file is also called a workbook. Currently now, I have a file open or a workbook open known as book one. In a workbook, we can create multiple worksheets. Currently now, I have some sheets open here, notes, cell reference. I have like 3 or 5 sheets open here. I can add another sheet or create another sheet by just clicking on this plus sign, and we can create as many sheets as possible within a single Excel workbook. Also, Excel is divided into rows and columns. Now the columns are labeled alphabetically. We have the column A, column B, column C, and column D, and many more like that, while the rows are labeled numerically. Also, we have a cell. A cell is a cell in Excel has a unique name and is gotten from the combination of both the column and the row name. For example, now I'm currently selecting a cell called A1, and this is because it is gotten from both column A and row 1. And we have B1 and many more like that. Now to the next one that we have now. Let's quickly go to our notes and what we have for today. So firstly, I'll be talking about autofill. What is autofill? Autofill in Excel is a feature that allows you to automatically fill cells with data or formula based on a pattern or existing data in adjacent cells. It can be used to quickly populate a series of cells with sequential numbers, date, text, or formulas without manually typing each entry. What does this mean? For example, now, let's say I want to populate these cells from cell A1 to cell A10 without typing the number individually. I can use my autofill functions. What it does is this: it follows a pattern. For example, if I type in figure 1 here and I wanted to populate this number through cell A1 to cell A10, I can just easily click on the number and drag my cursor towards the right bottom of the cell that has this box. So I drag myself towards it, hold it down and drag it down. So when I drag it down, you can see that it automatically populates the cells with 1. And why is this? This is because Excel only follows a pattern in autofilling your cells, and the only pattern you could find at the top is 1. Let's say, for example, now I want to populate this cell A1 to A10 in an increasing order of 1, like 1, 2, 3. So what I need to do is this: I have to create a pattern first. Typing 1 here, followed by 2, highlighting the 2 cells and applying the autofill function by clicking on it at the edge and dragging it down. We can see that Excel is increasing in an increasing order of 1. And this is because we first of all write in enter value 1 and 2. So when Excel look at the two value, you find out that the difference between them is 1 and is applying the 1 to the next cells. And that's why we're having it in an increasing order of 1. So if I also want to do in an increasing order of 2, I can type in 2 and 4. Highlight the cells and use the autofill. And that is that. So autofills make working with Excel very, very easy and fun. Okay, another thing about autofill is this. There's a list or a series of values created in Excel, like month of the year and days of the week. So I can also apply autofill to this list. For example, if I wanted to fill in my cells with the month of the year, I can just type in January and drag it down using the autofill. Then we have January, February, March, April to October. Also, this also goes for days of the week. I can type in Monday, drag it down, and I get the days of the week. Also, can do this for the short forms of the date and of the days of the week and the month of the year. So if I type in something like January, like JAN year, it also works for it. I get month of the year, and also for this, I get the days of the week. This also works for both dates, text, and formulas. Now, the next thing we want to talk about now is a formula. What is a formula? A formula in Excel is a mathematical expression or calculation that performs operations on data in cells. Formulas are used to perform various calculations, manipulate data, and automate tasks within Excel spreadsheet. They can range from simple arithmetic operations to complex functions involving multiple cells and data types. What is formula? Uh, like I said, formula in Excel is just like a normal mathematical formulas. For example, now, if I have 1 and I have 2 here, so and I wanted to add the two together, I can do that by creating a formula in Excel by just adding 1, sorry, by typing in 1 plus 2. But one of the things is this. One of the major important of formula in Excel is to automate itself and update itself. Now, while you are creating a formula in Excel, you have to refer to the value you are using for the formula by the cell name. So, for example, now me adding 1 plus 2 together by just adding the value does not really create a formula in Excel. So this formula I have here cannot update itself and it cannot automate itself. So if I drag it down, it's just going to be 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So let's say, for example, I have some values here. So dragging this thing down doesn't really affect the formulas. So one of the advantages of formulas in Excel is to be able to automate task and update task within your spreadsheet. So how do we create a formula in Excel? We create a formula in Excel by referring to the value by the cell name. So for example, now I want to add 1 plus 2 together. So I have to write equals to call this 1 by the cell value, which is B13 plus C13. Now, this is a formula in Excel now because the formula can easily automate or update itself. What do I mean by updating itself? So if I change in the value that make up this formula now, for example, I change this 1 to 5, automatically the formula updates itself to 7. So, and also, if I drag it down, it also automates itself by calculating for the other cells that I have here. So that is one of the functions of what? Of a formula in Excel, updating and automating itself. Now let's go to our next topic. Now the next one we'll talk about now is self-referencing. What is self-referencing? Self-referencing in Excel refers to the method of identifying and using specific cells or range of cells within a spreadsheet. Self-references are crucial for creating formulas, calculations, data analysis because they allow you to dynamically refer to data without hard coding values directly into formulas. Now, there are 4 main types of self-referencing in Excel. We have the relative self-reference. When you use the relative self-reference in a formula, Excel adjusts the reference based on the relative position of the cells containing the formula. For example, if you have a formula in cell C2 that reference cell A1, in the sense that A1 plus B1, you copy that formula to cell C3. Excel automatically adjusts reference to A2 plus B2. What does it mean? Now let's go to our Excel and just create a simple table. So let's say, for example, now I have a data that has to do with my products. Probably I'm selling some products like books, pen, pen, pencil, rulers, eraser. Let's say this is my product I'm selling, and I have a unit price for the products. Let's say the unit price for each of these product is 12 and 14. Let's just use reference for this, and the quantity sold per day, probably for pencil today now. How many books were sold? Let's say for today it is 20 and 30 for pen. Drag this thing down. Now, what I want to do now is this. I want to know the total revenue generated from this, my small business. Now, first of all, I can create a formula to calculate the revenue. And we all know that the formula for revenue is unit times quantity, unit price times quantity sold. That's the formula for the revenue. So whenever you wanted to start any calculation of formula in Excel, you have to start with equals to. That's a very important thing that you need to take note. You want to create a formula in Excel, you have to start with equals to. So now I want to calculate the revenue for this particular product. Now I want to create a formula for the first product, which is the book. Now I can create a formula by referencing the value by the cell name, like I said earlier, by creating a formula. So I wanted to like get this revenue to be unit price, which is in cell B2, multiplied by quantity, which is in cell C2. Press enter and I get 240. Now, let's say, for example, I have a long list of products that I'm selling. I can't be add coding or typing this thing one after the other. That takes time and it's really stressful. So that is one of the advantage of cell referencing in Excel. So what I can do is this, I can apply these formulas to the other cells here, while Excel is going to be referencing the cells that are relating to it. So for example, now I drag this thing down and you can see I easily get the answers for the rest. So when it gets to the next cell, Excel is referencing B3C3 instead of B2C2. When it gets to the next one, it's referencing B4C4 instead of the B2C2. And for the next one, is referencing B5C5. For the next one, is referencing B6C6. This type of referencing in Excel is known as relative referencing. And it is the default type of referencing that you get in Excel. This is relative referencing and it's default type of referencing. Now, what is another type of referencing that we have in Excel? Also, we have absolute referencing. Let's look at what absolute referencing means. Absolute cell reference refers to a fixed cell or range of cells that does not change when the formula is copied or moved. Now, what does this mean? For example, now, let's say I'm paying a tax for the revenue generated from individual products. So I have to pay the tax of, let's say, 5%. So let me type in tax here. And the tax is 5%. Now, I want to calculate the 5% of all my revenue to know how much I'm paying on each product. Now, I cannot do that by creating a formula. So let's say, for example, now creating the tax value. So let's say, for example, the tax value. Sorry, tax value. So to get the tax value, I have to multiply the percentage of the tax by the revenue. So equals to, getting the formula with this times this. Now, if I drag this thing down now, so the 5% of 240 is 12%. So I'm paying, sorry, it's 12 naira. So I'm paying 12 naira on books. So I want to calculate how much am I paying on the other one without hard coding them manually. So I can also use referencing. But if I drag this thing down now, I'm not getting a value for the other ones. Why is that? This is because, like I said earlier, the default referencing in Excel is relative referencing. So what Excel is doing is this. For the first one is referencing cell D2 plus G2. So when it comes to the next one is referencing D3 plus G3, and there are no values in this D3, G3, and when there's no value in the cell, it's automatically zero. So what Excel is doing is this, is multiplying zero because there's no value in G3 with 420. That's why we are getting zero. So if I go to the next one also, D4 plus G4. So it's multiplying G4 plus what? Multiplying G4 by D4. And in G4, there's no value, there's zero. That's why we're getting zero. Same goes for D5 and G5 and D6 and G6. So how can we now solve this type of problem whereby I want to multiply only this cell G2 by all the values that I have here, by all the values that I have in D2 to D6. How do I do that without how to like inputting it or creating the formulas manually individually? So I can do that by using absolute referencing. So absolute referencing is you multiplying a range of cells by a single cell. You're multiplying or using a single cell to you're applying a single cells to a range of cells. So an example is this. So I want to multiply this G2 by all the values I have in D2 to D6. So what I can do is this. I can lock the cell G2 in the sense that when I drag it down, it's not going to change. So how can I lock cell G2? I can lock cells by applying dollar sign in front of G and in front of 2. Mind you, G2 is the cell name, but it's gotten from both the what? The column and the row name. So G is from what? Column G, and 2 is from what? Row 2. So the combination of it is what makes what? G2. So what I can do is that I can log the entirety of the cells by applying dollar sign in front of G and in front of what? In front of 2. And so if I press enter now, I'm getting my answers. So if I drag this thing down now, so I'm getting the correct answer. So this is what is called what? Absolute referencing. So what Excel is doing is this, is only multiplying G2 by everything. So it's not changing as I'm dragging it down. So for example, now D3 times G2, D4 times G2, and D5 times G2, D6 times G2. So this is known as absolute referencing. And those are the second type of referencing in Excel. So now we're talking about mixed referencing. So what is mixed referencing? Mixed cell reference, a mixed cell reference combines elements of relative and absolute references. You can have either an absolute column reference or an absolute row reference. In a mixed reference, fixed part remains constant, while the other parts are just relative to the position of formula. So when we talk about mixed reference, a mixed reference is a type of referencing whereby a part or one of the operands that make up the formula is locked, or both of the operands are locked. So an example is this. So let's say I have 1 and 2 here that I want to add together. So I have 1 and 2. And I want to add them together to make up a formula. So if I type in equals to D22 plus D22. So in this case now, if I lock a part of D22, be it the D or the 22, that is the column name or the row name, and I also lock a part of E22, probably the row name. Now, this is an example of a mixed referencing because a part of D22 is locked and a part of E22 is locked. And also, a mixed reference can also be that when a part of D22 is locked and none of the part of E22 is locked, like something like this can also be a mixed reference. So what really determine mixed referencing is the application. How do we apply it? A very good example is this. Let's say I want to create a multiplication table 1 to 3. I have 1, I have 2, I have 3. And also, let's just create another one here. So if I want to create a multiplication table, my goal is that I want to multiply the one that I have here. This is the one on C21 by everything that I have here. So that will be 1 times 1, 1 times 2, and 1 times 3. And also, I want to multiply this one that I have here, all that I have here. So in that case, how can I achieve this thing? Now, I type in equals to, that's the first thing. Select the first cell, that's C21, multiply by D20. So in that case, since I want to multiply this 21 by everything up here, so as I'm dragging the C21 across the column, I don't want it to change. So what I can do is this, I have to lock the row because that the column is one responsible for the cell changing across the column. So I have to put dollar sign to C here. And for this other one, I want to multiply this one by everything here. So as I'm dragging it down the row, I don't want it to change. And what is responsible for that is the 20, which is the row name. So I have to put dollar sign to the 20. So I press enter and I got my result. So I can now apply referencing to this. So dragging it down the row also give me an answer. And that's an example of a mixed referencing. Another example of a mixed referencing that we would like to look at is a brief one here. Let's say, for example, I'm a businessman that have multiple bosses and I have some drivers working for me. So I have 5 drivers and I have 5 bosses. And these 5 bosses is distributed among the drivers every day. So on Monday, there's a percentage of the transaction value that the driver made that I charge them as my own profit. And on Tuesday, there's another percentage. So the percentage of the profit I charge them every day is not constant, it's different for every day. So what I want to do is I want to calculate the amount of profit I'm going to be collecting from every driver on Monday, giving the profit percentage, and on Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday. So I cannot achieve this with mixed referencing by just writing a single formula and applying autofill for it to get my result. So I can do that by just typing in the formula here. So what I want to do is this. So I have to look at the main goal here. So the main goal is to multiply this percentage I have up here by everything down here to get my profits. And also to multiply everything I have on Tuesday by everything by the transaction value to get my profits. Same goes for Wednesday and Thursday. So what I can do is this. I can multiply this 7 and for this particular problem, so the thing is this, if I'm multiplying this 7 by everything, as I'm dragging the value down, I don't want this 7 to be changing as I'm dragging it down. I just want it to remain this thing down the row. But as I'm dragging it across the column, I want to be changing because the percentage is different for each day. So I cannot do that. Typing equals to 7%, which is the percentage, multiplied by the first transaction value of driver A. So to achieve the goal, what I need to do is this. I need to log row the two. Two is the one responsible for the row. So if I log two as I'm dragging it down the row, it's not going to be changing. So I put dollar sign here. And the other one, which is B5, I want it like that because as I'm dragging that row, I want it to be changing. And across the column also, I want it to be changing. So I press enter, apply the referencing, and also apply the, and this is my answer. And this is an example of a mixed referencing. So let's quickly go to the last type of referencing that we have, 3D referencing. So 3D referencing has to do with a calculation when we're making calculation that involves multiple worksheets. So if I'm creating a formula now that involves multiple worksheets, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4. That's an example of a 3D reference. So I can down it down. So let's take a very good example now. Let's say, for example, I have some variables on sheet 6 and also have some variable on sheet 7. So I want to add the two together and put my answer on sheet 8, like adding all the values I have here with the value I have on sheet 8 and put my value on sheet 8. So what I can do is this. I'm going to come to sheet 8 where I'm having my answer and type in the formula. So it will be something like this equals to That's the first thing. Then I go to sheet 6 that contains the first value. I click on the sheet 6. I select the first value I want to add plus. So I put the plus on the formula box here. And I go to sheet 7. So I click on the value I want to add, and that's that. So I'm adding sheet 6 A1 plus sheet 7 A1 together. And I press enter. So if I, after creating it, it gives me my answer. That's 1 plus 2. I can easily drag this thing down to get the result for others. And that is that. So that's the part of 3D referencing. So another part of 3D referencing is this, is a situation whereby I have to create I own a supermarket, and I want to create a kind of like automated sheet whereby um I want a sheet that is going to add up my total sales for the month. So I want to create that particular sheet at the beginning of the month. So I want it, I'm adding my variable on a weekly basis. So I don't want to be coming there every week to be adding up everything. So I want to create an automated sheet whereby as I'm adding my value every week, the total sales sheet is actually populating itself and updating itself. So how can I do that? So what I need to do is this. I need to first create what is my starting period and my ending period. That's what I need to create, the starting period and the ending period. So my starting period is week 1 and the ending period is week 4, because I'm creating a sheet for a month. Then I'm going to create the total sales that is going to contain the value at the end of the month. So this is the total sales sheet. I already created that one here. So currently now I have the value for my sheet for my week 1, but I don't have the value for week 2 and week 3 and week 4 yet. But as the week is going by, I want a situation whereby as I'm populating the value, the total sales sheet is updating itself automatically without me going there manually to in the formula. So what I think is this, I need to create the formula on total sales. So how do I create the formula on total sales? So what I need to do is come to the total sales, type the formula here, equals to, now in this case I'm using sum. Sum is also a mathematical function for adding values of variables together. Sum. So it's a function, just click on it here. Now I'm going to go to the first week, which is the week 1 that contains my value or transaction value. Click on it, and we have week 1 here. So after that, I'm going to hold down the shift key, then click on week 4. So when I hold down the shift key and click on week 4, you can see that what is giving me now is a range, that is week 1 to week 4, not week 1 and week 4. So week 1 to week 4 means that everything that comes in between week 1 and week 4 is going to add it together on the total sales. So I select the cell I want to add, which is A1. So I close the brackets and I press enter. You can see now I currently have 3 on my total sales because I only have 3 on the week 1. So to create the week 2, let's say for example I'm now in week 2, what I need to do is just click on the week 1 and click on the plus button, which is to add more sheets. So if I click on it, so when I select the week 1 and I click on the plus button, it's going to create the sheet after week 1. So that's the way it works. So I'll click on this, rename it. So call this one week 2 and then press enter. So week 2 is in between week 1. So let me now populate week 2 to some variable. Let's say 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so if I go to that sales now, you can see that it has updated itself, and I can use make reference to that with that. So it has automatically updated itself. So I can also add week 3 by adding it after week 2, and it's also is going to populate itself in total sales. So that's an example of 3D reference. So quickly, let's go um to our next topic that we have here. So the next one we have here is sort and filter. What is sort? Sort is the way of arranging your data or data columns in a way, probably in an ascending order or descending order. So it depends. So if I want to arrange my data in ascending or descending order or a kind of way, that's when I use sorting. So how can I sort the data? Let's quickly go to the sort and filter here. So so I have this data set here now that I want to sort in some ways. Probably if you want to sort the data in Excel, you have to sort it based on the column. Am I sorting it based on the brand column or type column or operating system column? So and it's going to sort everything row by row. So a good example is this. Let's say I want to sort my data based on the brand column. So what I need to do is select the brand column. I come to sort and filter here and I select sort. So when I click on sort and filter, it's giving me A to Z and Z to A. This is because Excel automatically determines the type of data that is in brand. That's why it's giving me A to Z. Notice there is a text data. That's why it's giving me A to Z and Z to A. So let me just do A to Z first, and I got my result. So I can also do Z to A, and I got my result. So I can also sort based on touch, probably in ascending or descending order. Now I also have unit price here. So if I want to sort based on unit price, I can easily do that also. Just click on um smallest to largest. And only when I click on unit price, I'm getting smallest to largest and largest to smallest because it's a numeric value. So smallest to largest. Then I have my variables set here. So it's sorted. Now that's one type of sorting. So we have another type of sorting known as um multi-level sorting. So I'm only sorting based on a single column. So if I want to sort based on more than one column, probably like two. So that's what we call multi-level sorting. And how do I do that? So let's say, for example, now I'm sorting based on type and operating system. So I click on the type, then I go to the sort and filter. So in this case, I'm not selecting A to Z and Z to A again because I'm sorting based on more than one column. So I'm going to click on custom sort. So custom sort now. So I have to like select the column I'm sorting on first. So I'm sorting based on type first. So type, I type the type and sorting based on set value in ascending order. Then I click on add level to select the second column. You can see what's going here now. Sort by, then by. So it's going to first of all sort it based on type first before it comes to the next one, which is the operating system. So I click on operating system and I have my variable here, A to Z also. So if I click OK, you can see our resulting value here. Now, first of all, it's sorting all the data based on non-touch. It's sorting all the data based on non-touch. Then it takes all the value for non-touch and sort it again based on your operating system. So all the value on non-touch, sort it again based on operating system, BlackBerry OS, Java OS, and Windows Phone. Then it takes touch variable values and sort it like in ascending order also based on operating system. We have Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. And that's how that one works. So another form of sorting I want to talk about now is this. Notice that when I'm doing my sortings, my index has rearranged itself, and this is not really looking good. You can see I have 1, 2, 3, and 13. So you want to rearrange only the index just for it to look better, when you're sending out your reports. So in this case now, I can sort a single column by not applying the sorting to the other columns. So how can I do that? Is by selecting the column index and coming to sort and filter. Then I can do sort from largest, smallest to largest, that is in ascending order. It's asking me, do I want to sort only this selection or do I want to expand it? I want to sort only selection, so I'm going to click on continue current selection and just click on sort. Then I have my final output. So the next one we want to talk about is filter. So what do I mean by filter? Filter is just extracting a subset of the data for further analysis or a portion of the data. Just to like for it can be for analysis or for report purpose or just for your personal checking. So how do I do that? If you are dealing with large amount of data, sometimes you have to filter some portion out of some subset of the data just to focus on it. Probably that's what your analysis is all about. So how do I do this sort and filter? First of all, filter rather. I have to come to the sort and filter here and enable the filter option. So the filter option is enabled. That's why we have it at the top of each elder. Yeah, that is the name of the column. So for me, I just click on the filter options and the elder name, and I can do form of filter that I want to do. So for in this case, now, all the variables are currently selected. So I might say, okay, I only want touch variable. That's what I want to see. And you can see it has filtered only for touch. Also, if I come here, I can just do some clear from filter here. I come to brand. Now, in this case, now you notice that the brand is so long. Sometimes you might have a list of variables that is so long that you don't want to be scrolling down and be selecting one after the other. So you can use the text filter option here. So when you click on it, we have several criteria that you can use. We have equals, does not equals. So in this case, probably I want to see BlackBerry um phones only. So I can do a with and type in BlackBerry. You can see I have BlackBerry. So I might say something like, okay, I want variable that contains a particular operating system that contains probably OS. So I can just click on contains. So what you need to do is just you need to play around these particular options that we have here. Like just play around it, check different thing out like equal does not equal, begins with does not begin with, and stuff like that. So that's that. And we can also do that for numeric values also. So when you click on numeric values, click on number filter. We have equals, does not equals, greater than top 10. So I want to see the top 10 variable based on the magnitude of the unit price. So for example, now top 10 or top 5. So this is the top 5 variable based on the unit price. So, and that's that for filter. Please try and explore these options and just walk around it. And so the next one we have here now is based on notes, which we have functions. What are functions in Excel? We have different types of functions. We have mathematical functions, we have statistical functions, logical functions, string functions, date and time functions, financial functions, lookup functions. Now, I've actually made use an example of mathematical functions the other time when I was talking about three-D referencing. And a very good example of that is um, sum. So that's an example of mathematical functions. So we have so many functions. We have sum. Sum is just to add the values together in the add the value together like this. So I can add up what is my total um transaction profit I'm getting from day four. So I can click on sum. So when you're adding a value together, for example, I can start typing maybe E11 plus E12, but this one is not advisable. So when you're adding up a range of value, a large amount of value, it's better to use the function in terms of like sum. So using the sum now, then I can now select the range. Range is just you stating the starting cell and the ending cell. And what Excel is going to do is this, it's going to add up the starting and the ending cell with everything in between. So for example, I'm adding up all the variable here. So I'm going to click the starting cell, which is 11, E11. You put the column sign. Column sign means from, okay, E11, then you put the last one, that's E14. You can see E11 to E15. That is everything from E11 down to E15. So I'm going to add them together like that. Then I get it by sum. So that's how you sum. Now, for example, if I wanted to skip something in between, probably I don't want to add a variable for driver C. Yeah, so I can just use sum and select the, you can also select the first one, put comma, then I skip this one and press enter like that. So that is that. So when when you're adding up a large range of values, stop using the mathematical operator like E1 plus E2 plus E3. So only if you're having multiple values together, that's when you can use that. So just use the range. You're going to add up everything together. So also we can have another variable we have is product. Product is for multiplication. We have product, so you can check the product. The product is going to multiply everything together. So I had everything, and I have my variable starting investigator. So other functions that we also have is count. Count is just now we have three main types of counts. We have count A, and we have count blank. Count is to add up non-empty numeric cells. That's what it does. It adds up, counts the number of non-empty numeric cells. It only gives us the count of non-empty numeric cells. So for example now, I have this variable here, so I can type in, let me type in an alphabetical letter here, A and B, and leave some empty cells. So let's say for example, I want to count these cells that I have here now. Everything from E11 to E18. You notice that I have numeric text and empty cells with it. So if I click enter, it's only giving me 5. Why is that? Because what count does is it only counts the number of non-empty numeric cells. And the number of non-empty numeric cells that we have here is 5. So if I want to count everything like non-empty cells, what is responsible for counting non-empty cells is count A. Count A is the one that counts non-empty numeric cells, be it text, numeric, dates, and everything like that. So if I count everything like that, so it's giving me 7. So it's not counting the empty cells, it's only counting the non-empty numeric cells. Then we have the count blank. So the count blank count the empty cells only. If you see that, you get 1. So we also have max and min. Max is a function for just bringing out the maximum value, and min is for minimum value. So if I type in equals to max, so I get in maximum value. I can type in min for minimum value. So that's that. Then we also have other functions, statistical function like average. Very sure majority of us are familiar with statistical functions like average, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, and many more like that. So this can also be used in um, this. So we use average a lot. So that's all known as mean. So average, and we select the average. You don't get the average. Also, we can select the median, and we have everything. You can also select the mode. Just like that, you can just try out these functions to be able to understand them better. And so that's that. So we have now another thing I would like to talk about is some date and time functions. Although we are still going to talk about data and time functions in the future videos. But for this time, I'm going to talk about some functions that is related to date and time. So if you have something like equals to today, today gives you the date and time based on the date, the time that you have on your system. So sorry, it gives you only the date. So I click, for example, now date is giving me the current date based on the date I have on my set on my laptop. So I can also do now. Now will give us date and time. Now will give us date and time. So if I press enter now, you can see date and time based on the date and time I have on my laptop. Then we also have date. Date is for creating, it's just like creating a date using a date template. You can see we have date, and you can say, okay, what is the year? 2023. I can say month, and date, and that. And same goes for um time also. Close to, you can put a pre, 5, and then before. So that's about date, time, and some other functions. So you can try and explore these functions and see some how they work. So the next thing we talk about now is data validation. What is data validation? Data validation in Excel is a feature that allows you to control what can be entered into a cell or a range of cells. It helps to maintain data integrity by setting rules or criteria for the types of data that can be imputed, thereby reducing errors and ensuring consistency in your spreadsheets. So what is data validation? Data validation is just you restricting some set of people from imputing the wrong value that is contrary to what you are already stated. So a very good example is this. So let's say I have I want to send out my sheet to my colleague to populate some data there. And I don't want them to make mistake or mess up the whole sheet. So I can set up data validation for them whereby I restrict them from entering the wrong value. So I'll put the type of value that they can put there, state the type of value that they can put there. And if they try to enter something that is quite different from what I stated there, Excel is not going to take it. So how can I do that? Probably, let's say we are a company that sells products and the price of our product range from 5,000 to 10,000. And I don't want them to be inputting anything that is like outside those range. So I can set up a data validation for them whereby if they input anything that is outside 5,000 and 10,000, it's not going to take it. So like this for cell. So come to data under data tab. So select data validation. Then you click on currently now data validation is set to any row. That's why you can enter anything to it in Excel. So I click on data validation. I can want to select maybe it's the decimal number, whole number, the types of data they have to enter. So let me select decimal number. Now for this other option, the criteria you can see, you can state the criteria of the value you want them to enter. So in this case, I'm setting between, that is a range. So between 5,000 and 10,000. So that's the range of things I want to enter now. So I click OK. Now, before I move further, let me explain some other things here also. So we have input message. Input message is this. This one will display the type of message when they hover around the cells when they are about to input the value. So I can put correct data. So it's just a kind of like a message that is going to tell them what to like do. So correct data. Okay, correct data. So and for this one, I can just kindly input correct value. And that's that. So I click OK. And now for the next, okay, before I come to the error alert, For the error alert, the error alert is currently set as stop now. So what it means is that when they enter any incorrect value to this cell, it's not going to take it. It's going to be telling them stop. Until they enter the wrong value, Excel is not going to take it. But we have some other error alert that are flexible in terms of warning. Warning is going to warn them when they're about to input the wrong value, but it's still going to take it. It's going to ask you, you want to continue. And if you click on continue, it's going to take it. And information is going to give you some information about the variable you're entering, that okay, this is what you are supposed to enter. Do you still want to proceed with this value that you about to enter? And if you click OK, it's still going to take it. But let's set it as stop for now and see how that one works. So I've set my value. You can see when I hover around the cell, it's telling me what to input. Now, if I type in 5,000 now, it's taking it because it's within the range of value I stated. So if I type in 3,000, can see it's not taking it that. It's telling me that okay, the value I'm to enter here is not, doesn't match what I entered. So I can type in another thing. Let's say I type in 6,000 and it's going to take it. Okay, that's 600. If I type in 6,000, it's going to take it. But if I type in 11,000, it's not going to take it. So that's it. And you can see that this particular error type is not taking it. So if I type in, let's say I put in I change the data, account data version, I change the error alert, so I change it to warning now. So when I click OK, so if I try to input a wrong value like 11,000 like I did earlier, it's telling me that okay, the value doesn't match. Do I want to continue? So I can click on yes, and yes, taking the value. So that's how that one works. And sometimes when you put your value as info warning like that, and they were able to input the wrong value, you can also determine from your cells where the wrong value is being imputed. Yes, it is possible to determine where the wrong value is being imputed. So you select the variable and you come to data validation here, select circle invalid data. Then you get that okay, this is an invalid data because it doesn't match the criteria set for this data validation. So that's one example of data validation. So another example that I would like us to talk about is for text length. So you can also play around these options of phone number, date. You can set it for date to date range. So now I want to create for text length. Text length is just that it's going to calculate the length of the text that is inputted. It can be a numeric uh, value or a normal text value. So if it's numeric, it's going to count the number of digits that is present in that particular cells. So this one can be used for probably phone numbers or account numbers. By situation whereby you wanted to collect data that has to do with phone numbers and account number. And a lot of people made mistake with that because they input the wrong value and started looking for okay, maybe the account number exceeded a bit by one value or is low in one value, and that can cause a lot of issue. So I click on text length and I said my text length is okay, probably it's the phone number, my account number, and it must be equals to 10. So I say okay, equals to 10. So if I come here now and I type in one, it's not that one, it's this cell, sorry. So if I type in some value that is maybe I enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not to 10. So I think it's this one. Where do I put the value now? How actually enable this thing? So let me try it again. I don't think I've enabled it. So let me come here. So text length equals to 10. I click OK. So if I input anything like 776, it's not taking it because it's not up to the length I stated. So I have to put another one. So I have to put this one to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then it takes it. So anything that is beyond 10 is not going to take you to. Classes give me error. So that's an example of another example of data validation. So a last example of data validation we're going to be looking at is um list. So this is an example of a list now. Data validation. So you click on list. So if I want to click kind of like a drop down list whereby I can select from a multiple option instead of me typing it out. I've already created a list for the person. So I don't want the person to be typing it and typing wrong value. So you can select from the range of list and just be clicking on it. So probably I wanted to make a list of our products or our brand, for example. So I can just click data validation, click on list. So it's asking me for the source of the list. So I'm using the brand as source of the list. So I select the range of this list now. So that's that. And I click OK. So if I come here now, it's giving me the list. So I have to select from range of the list. You can see now. So I don't have to type in anything. So if I type in anything that is outside this range of the list here, probably I type in Samsung now. Okay, Samsung is there. Let's say iPhone. Oh, iPhone is there too. So iPhone is not there. So if I type in iPhone, it's not taking it. So it doesn't take anything that is outside the range. And it also gives you the flexibility of selecting from the multiple range that you have instead of you typing it manually and for messing up our variable. So that is that for list, and that's that about data validation. So now what we are going to talk about next is we want to go back to the original file. You can just click on any value and it's going to go back to the false. So that is that about this validation. So what we have next is conditional formatting. What is conditional formatting? Conditional formatting in Excel is a feature that allows you to apply formatting styles such as font colors, cell background, colors, border, and font styles based on the specified conditions or criteria. This feature helps to visually highlight and emphasize data that meets certain criteria, making it easier to interpret and analyze the information in your spreadsheet. So let me go to uh, my sort and filter. This I'm still going for this. So I want to use conditional formatting for this. So how can I do that? Let's say, for example, I want to use conditional formatting for price, just to format it. So when I click select the cell you want to format, you come to conditional formatting here under home, and you can see these are the functions that we have greater than. So greater than a particular value, maybe greater than 2 or 3. Uh, if the value is greater than 2 or 3, you can highlight it. Okay, give me a value that is greater than. Let me use an example. Greater than, let's say 500. So what color do I want to highlight it with? Let's say green. And you can see it's automatically highlighted in my cells like that. So I can clear this by just creating a clear value from entire sheet or a selected sheet. Let me just select a sheet. So we have this range here. We have highlight cells with greater than, less than, between, equals to, based on your criteria, equals to a particular number, between this particular number, maybe 10 and 15. Text that contain, this one is for text. So you're going to copy that. Okay, text that contain this particular variable in it. Date occurring, this is for date. Duplicate values. So you wanted to highlight duplicate values from your cells, you can also do that. So if I have here now, do I have duplicate values here? So let me say, okay, duplicate values. You can see it's highlighting the duplicate values that I have here, like 34, 39, and everything like that. So that's that. So we also have top bottom rules, like top 10 items based on their value. I'll talk about that in the filter. So I can say top 5. So it's going to highlight the top 5 value. So and I can also do it based on a particular value, maybe uh, red text. So it's changing to red text, and can do that like that. So these are the various options that we have for this. So for data bars, it's going to fill up the cells based on their value. For example, now the lowest is 99. That's why the bar is low. So it's filling up the bars in the cells based on the magnitude of the values in cells. That is how big they are. And color schemes. This one is they normally use on in bank, or in business. So I can use color schemes when I'm trying to set a goal. So when the goal is between a particular level, like, okay, probably I set a goal for this year to get like 1,000 customers, and I'm currently in probably 50. Definitely that one is red. So when I'm moving towards my goal, maybe I'm currently in like 700, it can be yellow. So when if I've achieved my goal or I've exceeded my goal, then that can be green. So that is that. So you can set up that one for that by clicking on, you can go for new rules. Under the new rule, okay, format only cells that contain format cells based on their values. You can select that and put this value is this color. Format only cells that contain, you know, and that is that one. So if I format only cells that contain, you can define your range, okay, between maybe 10, between let's say 200 and 500. So I select the color that I want to format it with. Let's say it's yellow. And I click OK. You can see now that I already I've created that within that range. So let me just clear rules for now. So for this other cells, so I can click on it, and let's say, for example, this one. So I can click on it and use cells that contain. So go to cells that contain. under the rules. It's text that contains, I can even use text that contain here or come to new rule. I want to use there. So format cells based on, okay, format only to format only cells that contain. So under this one, I can just change it to blanks. You can see here or specific text. So OS, and I want to select the format what I want to put it. So you can select different formats, can be number, can be border, anything that you want to put it. But for this one, I just want to put color. So just click OK, and I have these are the cells that contain OS. So I can also clear that out, clear my rows for the entire sheet. So the last one I want to talk about briefly is the one that has to do with formula. So we wanted to format the whole row based on a particular criteria. So I want you to format the row if the criteria for a particular column is met. You understand now? So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to select the whole row. So I want to format the whole rows that the operating system is Java OS. So I want to see the just format the whole rows that the operating system is Java OS. So I'm going to click on conditional formatting. Go to new rules, and I'm going to use a formula to determine which cells to format. So I come here, so I select the cells that I want to format. So in this case now, it is operating system. So I select the first. So I'm going to click on this to be able to select it. So I select the first one. So I can remove my locking from the column because if I want to drag it together. So remove the locking from the column. Select the row. So I type in E2 when E2 is equal to what? Put it in quotes, Java. You have to put it in double quotes because it's a text Java. And in Excel, you use double quotes. Just like that. Java OS. It doesn't take a single quote. So when this particular cells, format all is rows, when this particular cell is equal to what? Um Java OS. Then I press enter. So format. So what cells do I format? Let me just format with red and click OK. And click OK. Okay. That one is not working. That means we are making some mistakes here. So let's go back to it again. Um, New rules, use formula, and that one, operating system. Let me log this one first. Let's see. I'm missing something here. Java OS. So in this case, Java OS. That's that format. Screen on. Yeah. So we get that. So I was to lock only the row. I'm not supposed to lock the row so that I can do that. So you can see now. These are the values that have Java OS, and it's actually formatted. It has formatted the old rows that has Java OS, and that's that for conditional formatting. Now, the last one we want to talk about now is defining a name range. What I mean by defining name range? Most times when we're working with all these variable now, like for the mixed referencing, I might want to give a name to a cell instead of calling it by maybe the cell name like C25 or D25. Let's say I have my total profit here, so everything total profit that I made from my thing. So I can just say it equals to sum. So I select the whole profit, like the range of the profit, like I said earlier. And this is total profit I'm getting from my customers. Probably from this profit, I'm paying a tax, like in absolute referencing, I'm paying a tax. Now, I don't want to be calling the total profit by the name, maybe B18, like it's named there. So I can rename the name of the cell. So how do I rename the cell? So I'm going to call it total profit. So I go to my formula here, and under the formula, select the cell and click on define name. So define name allows you to give it a name. So let's say total profit. So I give it total profit. So if I wanted to use this cell now, I don't need to call it B18. I just call total profit. So probably I have a tax. I'll just say 5% times total profit of total profit. Then you can see now when I select it, or you can type it in total profit. So, and that's that. And you can select a range of cells. Let's say I come to this one now. So I can select the range of cells and say, okay, this one is my unit price. If I come to define name, come to units underscore price. So it doesn't, you have to put some things. It doesn't like when you write the name, there must not be a space in between the names. So there must be an underscore, you write them together. So you can see, yes, this is the range of the value from F12 to F16. And yes, is applying absolute referencing to this so that it's not going to change. That is what that one means. Absolute referencing that this is the range. The range is locked permanently. So, okay, the name already exists. Instead of the name already exists, let me just call it prices or something. So that one works. So if I wanted to add up the price, I don't have to be calling maybe A1, F2 to F something. I can just call it equals to. So you can apply this name for probably the variable that I use often and often. So instead of you calling it by A2 to A something, just call it by the name. So I just use sum, then I put prices. So I have it here, prices. You can see and add it together. And I can also rename a table. Rename a table, so I can call this table maybe uh, products, product data, or something like that. Sha. Just call it any name. And it's already named like that. So now another thing I want to talk about is now. Currently now this table that we have here is a range. Let me remove this container formatting. The table that we have here is a range. Is a range. So if I want to convert it to a table in Excel, how can I do that? Convert it to a table in Excel. How can I do that? So I can click on what Control T. So when I select Control T, it's asking me my table has header and where's the table about this. So click OK. So that is Control T. So one of the characteristics of table is this. So when you're trying to add another value downward to the next row, it tends to update itself with the table, unlike range. So if I created a table now, maybe I name this table um let's go to insert and maybe under the home or something. So hold on. So if I select this table range now, you can see I've already named the table before. It's calling it product. That's the name of the table. So I can also come here and give it a name. So if I try to add another variable down here on the row here, the table tends to update itself and add it to the what? Add it to the table. Unlike range. So as I'm populating it, it tends to update itself. So that's one thing about table and the front end to work with it. So for this class, that would be all for now. So now before we round up, let's just talk about formatting. Sometimes when you want to format your cells, so formatting is just like giving the proper format. Another thing I want you to notice is this: the default settings of Excel is this. When you enter a numeric value in Excel, by default, is always aligned towards the right hand side. That's why we have something like unit price aligned towards the right hand side here. So if I enter a text like name of person like Ola and Ola and Paul or something like that. So if I enter a value, you can see that the text values are aligned towards the left hand side, and that's default. Sometimes that's how you differentiate your text from numeric. So sometimes some numeric can be converted to text. And what is the implication of that? If you have some numeric that is saved as text, that means you can't perform any form of mathematical calculation with it until you convert it back to numeric. So it's always aligned towards the um, right hand side for numeric. White text are always aligned towards the left hand side. So you have to watch that sometimes. And how do I format my text? For example, now, so when I click on this one, is general, so I can select it. Probably I want to give it a number to put it in terms of like in thousands, so I can remove the trailing space. Now, that's number. I can use currency and I change the currency to whatever I want it to be, maybe English dollars, or you can go to more account, select the currency that you want, and I can convert it to percentage also, percentage. So um, that's that. Now, so this one percentage is you just have to divide this one by 100 because percentage is supposed to be like this. So let me just click on this. That 100. So my percentage. So that's it. Because 0.3 is actually 3%, and 3% is the 9%. So this down. So that's that one. Convert to percentage. And the other one we can also do is short dates and time. So if I have a date like this. Now, another thing I want to notice about date is this. Now, when you are inputting a date in Excel, the date that you are inputting must conform to the date format that you have saved on your laptop. So, for example, my date format here is month first, then day, then year. So if I put in probably day first, then followed by month, then followed by year, it doesn't really recognize it as a date because it doesn't tally with the format of date that I have here. The format of date set on my laptop is month comes first, followed by dates, followed by year. So you notice that these dates now, how do you differentiate from dates too? When you have some wrong dates in your sheet, wrong dates are actually aligned towards the left hand side. So this one is showing that this one is not a date, it's a text. So when you have a real date, dates are always aligned towards the right hand side, like in the numeric value. So if I put something like 4/23, 2024, you can see is aligned towards this time, and that's that. So you are going to get like some data. When you add some data, there will be some error with some dates. We are going to talk about that when we go to data, when we get to data cleaning and everything. So we're going to talk about that. So that's about formatting. And if I have a value here that is converted to text, you can see now. Yes. So you can see this number is I've converted to text. You can see it's aligned towards the right hand side, and that's why it's a text. So let me just show you something with it now. So majority of the time when you have a text data set, you can't perform any form of calculation with it. It's going to be zero. So that's that about the